My friends, what is going on? Hope you guys are enjoying your Monday, going into Tuesday this week. Obviously, the market was closed today, so nothing to look at chart wise. So, what I thought I would do is before I'm headed back to work on Wednesday, is take a look at a video that I've been wanting to make for a while, and people have been asking me about when I've mentioned, and that's basically how I do my covered calls when it comes to AMC. Just like any other video, I don't plan any of these videos out. I probably should, but I don't. So what I want to do with this video is I'm just going to kind of start talking about my strategy, and it might be a 5 minute video, it might be a 45 minute video. I really have no idea. We're just gonna talk till it's done. Before we get started, if you haven't already, if you do Twitter at all, follow me on Twitter, Colin_Gladman. Wanted to talk quickly about Twitter, guys. I will never DM you asking you for money or how your trade's going or get into this cryptic thing or that cryptic thing. There was actually a pretty good scam artist that was using my Twitter handle and using the L in my name. They were just making it a capital I, and so it looked just like me. And I had somebody saying they got scammed out of some Bitcoin and stuff like that. I am never, ever, 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 ever going to be doing that and asking you for money or anything along those lines. So if you get any DM related from me, it is not me. That's all I can say. So please be safe. I really don't want anybody to get scammed out of money. So anyway, jumping in to this video, I know this video is going to be controversial. And let me start by saying that I don't care. Let me also start by saying that this is a strategy that's worked for me. I am giving you guys my trading strategy. My trading strategy is not financial advice, it is my trading strategy. You need to come up with your own trading strategy. If you do not understand what covered calls are, you need to start by understanding what covered calls are. Because there is a very real potential that you could lose some shares when doing this. And so, like I said, I just want to be real clear on that this is my trading strategy. I'm doing it because some people have asked me about it. My trading strategy is not for everybody, and I don't care because it's my trading strategy. You need to have your trading strategy. So anyway, not financial advice. You guys know the deal. If you love the idea, great, let me know. If you hate the idea, great, let me know. I will continue to do my trading strategy because it's what works for me. At the end of the day, yes, I care about AMC. Yes, I want to see AMC squeeze. Yes, I love the fact that we saved, this company from malicious short attacks and unfair, naked shorting and everything along those lines. But at the end of the day, I'm in the stock market for the same thing that you're in the stock market for. And don't be kidding yourself. It's about money and gaining. But for me, why money is so important, especially the older I've gotten. I just turned 38 a few days ago. The older I've gotten, the more important that freedom is to me. I think, and to be able to be free, that to an extent requires money. If you don't want to have a job, or if you have a job that you hate or anything along those lines, I basically want to be able to spend the time that I have, because time is the one thing that none of us are ever getting back, and none of us are getting out of this life alive. So how you spend your time matters, I believe. And so I want to spend as much of my time as I possibly can helping as many people as I possibly can. And I believe to do that, you have to be financially secure yourself. And so that's the whole reason I do my investing and everything along those lines. But let's actually jump into the video. So real quick, I highly recommend going and discovering what covered calls are. I'm going to talk pretty much this entire video based off the assumption that you already know what I'm talking about when I talk about a cash covered call. But essentially what a cash covered call is it's 100 shares. You are putting your 100 shares on the line. And to do that, you collect premiums by putting your shares on the line. You pick a strike price at whatever you feel comfortable with. So you're basically saying, I'm willing to lose these 100 shares at this price. And to do that, that you collect a premium for it. So when I decide on what type of strike prices, so there's three type of strike prices. You got in the money, at the money, and out of the money strikes. The more out of the money that you are, that premium is going to get smaller and smaller and smaller. The more in the money you are, that premium gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And then of course at the money is a good sized premium. So I don't mind telling you guys, I own 4,300 shares of AMC currently. Looking to get more, especially this week if we kind of drop down in this falling wedge like I talked about in my previous videos. So the way that I do it is I put anywhere, Dave's got a great saying. He calls it a moon bag. You always got to hold on to a moon bag. So the way that I do it is I take 30% of my shares, which is basically about 1,300 shares. So each week I do at least 13 covered call contracts for AMC on covered calls. And where I pick my strike is based off of my TA. So I don't do my strikes based off of Dave or Rico's TA or anything along those lines. Obviously, I love those guys and I think they're brilliant, but I do my strikes based on what is this chart telling me. So for instance, this week, I've talked about how I think we're probably more than the most likely scenario is going to be we're going to stay in this falling wedge pattern. So, the top of that falling wedge is up to about 21 or so. The bottom of the falling wedge this week is going to be about towards 18 or so. So I think that's probably the range that we're going to be trading in more than likely. So what I do is I've learned too with AMC before I was really focused on AMC, I would usually do my contracts on Friday to Friday. So I do my cover call contracts. I do them on the weekly basis. I don't do monthlies or yearlies or leaps or anything along those lines. Although I got no problem with that. So you do them however you need to do them. How I do my contracts is I usually do them on a week to week basis. So I usually go like Friday to Friday. Now what I found with AMC is AMC likes to run on usually like kind of Monday and Tuesday. AMC, we all know, likes to run during the week and then kind of gets knocked down towards the end of the week. So I've come to find that with AMC that I usually like to do my contracts on Monday and Tuesday with AMC, and then Fridays it usually winds up with so much max pain pinning that it's usually pretty easy to see where you're going to wind up on Friday. So this week, because of the falling wedge pattern, I'm probably going to do my strikes relatively close to in the money. Honestly, I haven't even really looked at them yet, but probably in that $22 to $23 range. There's also potential. We'll kind of see how we come running out of the gate and pre-market and everything like that I may not do any contracts. The reason I might not do any contracts just this particular week is, man, the option chain is just so crazy this week and it is so loaded that if we start moving up, a couple of dollars, we start getting up towards, the 23, 24, 25 range. If you go look at the option chain for AMC, there's so many options that start becoming in the money. It definitely could cause a little bit of gamma and we could definitely run a little bit more. So I might even play them super safe this week, up to about that $28 range. I would really be surprised if we started breaking out of that. That would be, and that's going to require insane amounts of volume. But if we start running up hard and we start getting in the $150 to $200 million volume range and we start pushing up out of this, man, it could be not go time as far as now as, but it could be go time as far as, we really start seeing a real solid reversal in AMC stock. So like I said, I'll worry about that later. I'll probably do a video tomorrow evening based off of Monday's price action. But once again, I've said it a million times already. I think we're going to trade relatively flat to sideways to maybe even see some downside. My most bearish case scenario would be getting that gap fill. But kind of depending on how pre-market looks and everything like that. So Tuesday morning, I will probably do some covered calls if I feel like it's looking pretty flat to sideways to downside. And so, I will probably do a lot of covered calls in that probably in that $21 to $22 range if I think things are looking pretty flat. Now, my goal is I use these covered calls, and so when you sell the covered calls, you collect a premium off of that. Usually, I try to go for anywhere between about, on the low side, probably about $70 to $75 on the high side, up to about $130. And once again, it all depends on the strike price that you pick, and you got to do what's best for you. And once again, I only ever risk about 30% of my total shares. So 70% of my shares do nothing but sit there. But because of my method, when we were up here in this $44 range, I probably had about, I can go back and look and let you guys know for sure, but I had only probably about 3,300 to 3,500 shares when we were up here in this $40 range. And because I've been collecting premiums the entire way on the way down, and I have not lost a single share. In fact, only one time have I lost any shares doing my covered calls the entire time I've been trading AMC since June. And I did a $40 strike price one week, and it closed at like 41 or 42 that week. And so I lost my shares there. And then, I don't care. I bought them back at like $35 a share or something along those lines. So, and I acquired more shares that way. So, once again, everybody's going to come out saying this is a shill video, and he's saying to trade AMC and everything like that. And that's just not true. To an extent, actually, I guess to an extent that is true, but I'm doing it with a very small percentage of my shares. 70% of my shares is going to be a moon bag, but I'm not going to sugarcoat it. If AMC doesn't start showing more positive price movement and direction, I'm going to increase that. I'll increase it up to probably about 40 to 50% of my shares. Because once again, I am here to make money. I am here to make my snowball constantly get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The bigger that snowball is, the more money I can make on it. I'm not going to sit here and just let all those premium dollars and interest, go to the wayside. Now, obviously, the biggest concern about this is what happens when AMC just does the boom and we just wake up and it's gone. There is definitely a chance that I would lose 30% of my shares when AMC makes its big move. Okay? But because I have so many shares, I am quite confident that the 70% of my shares, the 3,000 shares that I have, is going to be more than adequate enough to make really good money along the way. And so, but like I said, that is what I do for me. So basically you got to look at it is what are you selling the premiums for? If you're someone who's, in a real bind and you need money, you overinvested or anything like that, covered calls are a great way to start making some of your principal back. And you can start, pulling some of that money out if you need to or want to. The way I handle my covered call money is as I sell covered calls, obviously those premium dollars go into my account. And then I use that to buy more shares of AMC. But I leave it sitting in my account essentially just like it is, sitting in my bank account. So that way I buy on those key levels. So once again, I've got quite a bit of money in there. And if we get this gap fill, down to the 1650 range, I am going to be loading the freaking boat on shares. Right now, if that happened, I think I looked it up. I'd be able to get about 3,000 more shares if that happened. I'll tell you, I don't care. I'm an open book, like I always say. I'll be able to buy 3,393 shares if we get that gap fill. And I would do that. Because I think that's a fantastic place to buy AMC. But obviously, once again, we'll see what happens. So you can use the covered call money. You can pull it out and send it back to your bank account. If you guys got a wife that's writing you about, oh my gosh, you've invested in AMC and it's just tanked and everything along those lines. It might be a great way to handle that situation. My wife, she's my ride or die. She is just, she everything I could ever want in any human being on this planet, and she has supported me and let me chase my dreams. So that's not a concern here. But it could be for you. I definitely know, and I've seen people, get the pressure put to them before. So once again, that's how I do my covered calls. Last week, so I keep a trade journal. So once again, I'm an open book. I keep a trade journal of everything that I do, and I've got 2 different little journals of exactly what I make, how I make it, when I make it, everything along those lines. I'm a big believer in writing things down. So, so it looks like last week, I only did 10 contracts last week at AMC. I did them at a strike price of $23. And because of that, I made $743.28. And obviously, I just let it expire worthless on that Friday. So I didn't buy out. I collected the full $743.28. And so that's how much money I made last week. And now, obviously, you lose way more money than that, by the price or by the stock price, declining or anything along those lines. But it's a way to hedge against your losses, to make sure that your capital is still working for you, capital is returning. So honestly, if you have a real small number of shares, this strategy may not be for you. But if you guys are out there, for me personally, once again, everybody's different. I probably wouldn't do it unless I had pretty close to, probably at least 500 to 1,000 shares. Once again, that is me personally, but you do what's best for you. So like I said, depending on what we look like, pre-market volume, all that good stuff this week, I personally expect us to kind of get not hammered this week, but I expect, once again, pretty flat to downside. So I will probably be looking at doing relatively close to out of the money and at the money. So I usually look, my first places I always look is about $1 to $3 above kind of where AMC is trading at. And essentially the question you have to ask yourself, I was teaching my son about this today, which was a great time, but you have to get to the point where your risk of how many shares you're going to lose is worth the reward to you personally of the premium that you would take. Now, if you go, well, Colin, I only have, 300 shares total. So a couple $100, but risking almost all my entire shares, that's just not worth it to me if it goes to the moon tomorrow. And that is the answer to your question. Don't freaking do it. You have to decide at what point it's worth it to you. So just like anybody else, I have my numbers that I'm watching, but it is important to me because I have so much money, tied up in AMC. I've got close to $200,000 tied up in AMC, and so it is important to me to make sure that capital is always working, and I'm staying on point, and I am being a wise manager of the money that the good Lord has blessed me with, because you've got to make sure, in my opinion, that you're doing that. I have 4 kids. I've got a wife. I'm taking care of my household, and that is the wise thing for me to do, is to make sure that my capital is returning to me, so that way I can acquire more shares, and that my capital is returning to me. I watch Shark Tank. Kevin O'Leary always talks about, like, money needs to be like little soldiers that go marching out, and those little soldiers need to come home with prisoners. They need to come home with friends, if you will. So that's the way I look at it. Every single day my money needs to be working for me, and so that way, I love my job. I wouldn't change, my job for anything. I love coaching and helping people. And so, I love doing that. But, the more money that you have, the more freedom you have to spend time doing what you want to do with the people that you want to do it with. And that's what investing has always been and will always be about me. It's money is not important. What is important is the freedom, and with more money comes more freedom. And so being, financially responsible in that category is going to be what I do. So if you guys have questions, don't hesitate to let me know on how to do it. Once again, if you think I'm a shill because I do this, feel free to call me that and then ask me if I care, because I don't. So anyway, that's kind of how I handle covered calls. Usually I look for a few bucks out of the money, so that way I can risk as few of my shares as possible and maximize the premium that is coming back to me through that. And like I said, 70% of my shares is what I hold on to for my moon bag, unless things look real ugly, like when it was up here and things were definitely looking ugly and we broke our long-term support. I mean, I started risking more because I was pretty confident we might see some downside. And like I said, the entire time I've been doing this, and I've made a decent amount of money doing this, I have only lost shares one time, and I was able to repurchase them at a lower strike. Now that's not guaranteed, especially if we go mooning tomorrow or anything like that, but I will still be just fine, with my 70% moon bag, and 30% will be, I wouldn't have the amount of shares that I did right now if I was just buying and holding and closing my eyes. So once again, this is not for everybody. It's not financial advice. You need to do what's best for you. If please don't hesitate to reach out to me on Twitter. If you have more questions about it, I'll help you as much as I can. But at the end of the day, you have to trade your plan. And the only way you know what your plan looks like is when you ask yourself those tough questions of how many shares would I be willing to lose at what price and everything like that. And when you go, okay, I could live with that. If somebody knocked on your door tomorrow and said, hey, I'll buy all your AMC shares from you for $30 a share. What you think about that? And if you're a person who's like, man, at this point, that's what I need to do, then it might be, a good plan for you. But like I said, unless you have a decent amount of shares, which I'm not shaming anybody, God bless you if you don't have a lot of shares. There was a point in my life, my wife and I were talking about today, when we got married, we didn't even have $500 between the two of us. We were beyond dead broke. Couldn't even describe our situation. Dead broke sounded rich when we first got married. So grind and work, and don't whine for it. Work for it. A few years ago, I was as stupid as you could be on all this kind of stuff. And I'm still learning every single day, but I have a way stronger grasp of what's going on in the market than I did, and it's led to a lot of success for me. And that's why I take notes every single day, and I'm reading every single day, and I'm learning every single day. If with the amount of information that is available to us at this point in our lives, if you don't have a new skill set within 6 to 12 months, you are wasting your life. If you're sitting around, and I like playing video games, I tweet about playing Warzone, but if all you're doing is sitting around and playing video games and you have not acquired a new skill set, if you are not working to become a better version of yourself every single day, you are wasting your time. And time is the one thing we talked about that none of us can get back. So use that time wisely. I'm sorry if I rambled on too much for some of you guys. If this is helpful to you, we can get into more specific. I can talk more about exactly specific strike prices that I do, and I'm happy to do that. One last thing, a bunch of people were asking me about these plays, which, by the way, pretty cool, man. Silverback followed me. I got you, Adam. We're going to take this thing to places. But anyway, people were asking me about my my BBIG scalp right here. So just in a couple of hours on, I believe it was Thursday morning. No, it's Friday morning. When is that? January 14th. We'll call it Friday. I think it was Friday morning. Yep, Friday morning. So on Friday morning in a couple hours, I scalped and made almost 10 grand on BBIG. People were asking me, why don't you tell us about these plays? I scalp a lot of plays with my dry powder guys, but I do it and I'll get in and out really, really fast. And so that would be too time consuming for me to try to post those plays all the time. If it's one that I might be holding on to a little bit longer, I will definitely start alerting those plays. But quick scalps that I do, I'm not going to do that because Some, trying to follow along with that would be time consuming. People might get left bag holding, especially because I do these scalps on stocks that I really think are, starting to run in that particular day, and that can change drastically. But BBIG is going to be one that I got my eyes on. So I have a certain amount of my money is set aside just for dry powder and for scalps like the BBIG play, and then everything that I do invest in. So even on my Tesla, even on my AMC, everything that I invest in, my money's got to be working for me. And so even on those down weeks, those covered calls got to be pumping. Pretty much in my Roth accounts, and my other IRAs, that's the only place that I just buy and hold and don't do anything with, and that's where I own a bunch of Tesla and everything along those lines. So if this is helpful to you, let me know. If I'm a shill, let me know. Once again, I don't care, but feel free to let me know. Get that banging on the keyboard. I know you guys love doing that. So anyway, I'll see you guys tomorrow in the market. It's going to be a wild week no matter what. It's going to be a wild week, I think. There's lots of plays that could be running. BBIG, DWAC. I think the money is starting to rotate back into a lot of plays that we're going to have a lot of fun with. So buckle up, if you will. And let's get after it. Let's have a good week. Have a good one, guys.